last tidbits on the integumentary system. I just want to talk about how your skin ages, what can make it worse, and then I want to talk about burns. Okay, so basically, as you age, regardless of anything else, your skin is going to change. Dermatitis, irritation of the skin, inflammation of the skin is going to become more common. Your oil secretion lowers, your sebaceous gland activity lowers, and so your skin tends to get a little drier. That means that there actually is an aging benefit for oily skin. So the oily skin you had when you were a teenager may actually make your skin age slightly better. There are also fewer epidermal dendritic or Langerhans cells, which means less immune functionality in the superficial layers. You tend to lose your collagen and your elastic fibers, so your skin loses its snapback, its pliability, and its elasticity, so you start getting saggy jowls and wrinkles. Your melanocytes decrease their activity, and so typically speaking, without sun exposure, your skin gets a little more fair as you age. Your sweat production decreases, which means it's harder to thermoregulate. Your vitamin D production decreases, which means you don't actually absorb as much calcium. And then your body fat deposition will change again. So it changed at puberty so that if you were a woman, estrogen would cause you to deposit more fat in the breast and the hips and the thighs and less around the middle. That will change as you hit menopause. And in males, your testosterone levels don't change very quickly. So those changes are a little more subtle when they occur and they take a little longer. Your skin will also thin because you lost all that collagen and all that elastic, and then also you're exfoliating faster than you're regenerating. So because of that, your skin is more susceptible to temperature change. It's also more susceptible to tearing. And then the last thing is just to talk about what the sun does with aging. So I don't know if you've heard this, but dermatologists say that the 90% of skin aging is due to sun exposure. So it's really, really easy to see when you look at identical twins. So these two women are identical twins, same genetics, same at least environment when they were growing up, and then different environmental behaviors later. And you can see the amount of sun damage. The amount of wrinkling, the amount of discoloration, wrinkling all over the face, even though the genetics are identical. So you can see like hyperpigmentation in the skin, and you can see more wrinkling. This is primarily due to sun exposure. And one of the things that you need to know, other than the likelihood of all skin cancers increasing with sun exposure, is that it breaks down your collagen and your elastic fibers. And so your skin starts to lose its elasticity and then it wrinkles. So this is a pretty good study, of course, because these two women are genetically identical. But their behavior was different as they went into adulthood. Maybe they ate different. Maybe you didn't control for everything. But this man is a truck driver. And you can see the dramatic impact, obviously same genetics, same environment, same everything, because he's the same individual. And you can see the dramatic change that sun exposure made on one side of his face and not the other. Lots more sun exposure close to the driver's window. And then you can see real huge damage to the skin in this woman. So the other advantage that we can talk about here is that people with inherently darker skin, I'm not talking about people who tan, I'm talking about people who have inherently higher rates of melanin production and more persistent melanin, people who have a genetic predisposition to darker skin, they are going to have more protection from sun damage. They are going to have less wrinkling, and less sun-related damage to their skin. So aging tends to show up less on the skin in dark-skinned people than it does on light-skinned people. Okay, and the last little tidbit in this set of notes is just to talk about burns. So let's talk about burns. So you've heard of first, second, and third degree burns before, of course. Now, what does that have to do with the layers of the skin that we've learned about? A first-degree burn will damage the epidermis only, and it tends to just have redness associated with it and no blistering. So it could be a sunburn, or it could be a steam burn, or a chemical burn. The only thing that's bad about a sunburn is that not only did you damage the tissue, but you damaged it with UV radiation, so it increases the likelihood of cancer. A second-degree burn damages the epidermis and the upper portion of the dermis and will generally have blistering associated with it as the epidermis and dermis pull away from one another and fluid fills the space. So blistering is associated with that one. And then a third degree or full thickness burn that you see will damage the entire epidermis and the entire dermis, and it can even crackle some of the fat in the hypodermis. So you've heard of somebody who has burns over 26% of their body or whatever. And what that has to do with is nobody's actually measuring how much of their body that was burned, because that would make it even more painful. But there are estimations that you can do, and the estimations are different based on whether you're an infant, a child, or an adult. And so they estimate the percentage of body burned based on the person's relative age. And then what do you do in situations like this? What you do in situations like this is if you have a third degree burn over, let's say 36% of your body, that's quite a bit. You could choose to do several different kinds of grafts. An autograft is, let's say I had a burn on my upper limb, my lower limbs were fine. I could transplant my own tissue from here to here. And when I did that, it would reduce the need for fibrosis because regeneration could occur in a smaller area. I could also do an allograft. An allograft comes from another human. Sometimes it comes from cells that were grown from the foreskin from circumcisions. Also, allografts come from cadaver skin. I'll describe that to you in class. A heterograft comes from another organism. We used to, more frequently than we use now, we used to use pig skin, although it didn't used to stay. It was like kind of a placeholder. And then now there has been some technology that develops artificial skin, in which there are like artificial matrices that you could put in. And then spray the skin cells over it, and skin cells will actually grow. Those skin cells usually come from cadavers. So we can talk about that in class. That's it for skin.